Hello everyone. I will start with the topic, not from myself. The breakthrough for change agents. And the subtitle about ORCA, something that I'm going to introduce here. This is about having more impact with less effort and stress. First, I would like to mention that we have more with less. So this is already something about this conference, right? All right. Hello, everyone. I will start with the topic. All right. Hello, everyone. I will start with the topic, not from myself. The breakthrough for change agents. And the subtitle about ORCA, something that I'm going to introduce here. This is about having more impact with less effort and stress. First, I would like to mention that we have more with less. So this is already something about this conference, right? Okay. I need to switch on here too. So now we're good. So credits to Jürgen Desmet that I stole this slide from him. But anyways, you can find a lot of similar statistics in the public sources. So this is about the employee engagement around the world, not only in the Agile world. And it says that at least 23% of people around the world, they are engaged, right? But not engaged, 60%. For example, you can also see that 18% loudly quitting. And negative emotions, I could not even imagine that, but 44% of all the people around the world, they feel stressed, and anger, 21%. That is overwhelming. So again, different statistics exist, but the key point is this. I just give a summary of what I personally found out. That for most companies around the world, you can find something out of these. Low employee engagement with high stress at work, frequent internal conflicts or communication breakdowns, an excessive and unbearable, really, coordination overhead, control games at all levels, lack of alignment between teams and departments, inefficient decision-making, etc., 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 etc. So the point is, well, this is about change agents. Why? Because as soon as you're working with teams, with departments, with whole company, anyways, if you're a change agent, you need to understand that these exist and that you need to somehow address that. And that is quite difficult. What happens if you're failing with that? We have severe consequences for the whole business. Low business value at a high cost, suboptimal execution of the business strategy, and even this is probably already enough. So there's a reality, the harsh reality, and in this presentation I will start with trying to answer the question about why the change agents fail and what you can do with that. So why I'm speaking here, just a couple of words about myself. I'm an executive consultant and trainer focusing on adaptive organizations tailored for business. My previous experiences are in diverse domains. It's banking, fintech, digital, automotive industries. I had various roles, managerial, non-managerial. Worked as a Scrum Master, Agile coach, and head of project management office at some point. Right now, I am, apart from being a candidate less trainer, I'm also giving courses creating Agile organizations, and I am the co-author of ORCA, which is what I'm going to introduce in this session. Well, if you have any questions about my personality, we can chat later on. The agenda is very simple. I always start with the problem. Without problem, why should we spend any time on this, right? And after that, I will come to the solution. All right. So this is very brief about one specific case that happened in a renowned global car manufacturer, and as in many cases, unfortunately, I cannot give you the real name because normally I am speaking not only about good aspects, but also about the harsh reality of these companies. But what I can tell you, and Craig, don't tell us what is the company, but this is about autonomous driving department in one of these car manufacturers, and the size of this department was more than 1,000 people. Well, probably this is not that much. However, look forward to learn more about this. So first of all, what is the autonomous driving? It's such kind of automations of what normally a driver does themselves, right? The parking, controlling distance, and keeping the lane on the highway, for example. Already right now you can, if you have a modern car, you probably use these features, even probably not thinking about that. So they develop these kind of features and much more, driving us towards cars driving themselves on the roads. I don't like that because I actually like doing myself, but anyways, this is our future. Now, what I learned when I joined this journey, first of all, they had extreme technical complexity. Continuous innovation was a matter of survival, so that whole idea was based on the continuous innovation. And the size of 1,000 people, the tremendous is not the size itself, but that it was connected to a single product. So they tried to actually develop a single product by all these people. What in the external environment, they had even much more difficulties, fast and really furious competitors, emerging safety regulations, and exceptional quality standards. So who is from the engineering or technical world, they can imagine that all this together, they make it so hard to really achieve something substantial in terms of the business outcomes. Now, what was the overall feeling? That they had the risk of running far behind their competitors ultimately. So sometimes it felt that they ran too slowly, not in terms of delivering even, but in terms of creating the value for their product. Now, what happened? I'm not going to give you the whole long story. This is just some aspects out of this. So they ended up with these optimization goals and ability to work on and deliver the highest business value, ability to learn faster than competitors, and easily adaptable organization to ensure the first two. What I did was that, well, that was deemed to be the basis for all organizational decisions, so that all decisions would be aligned with these optimization goals. And I just make it short, adaptability and speed of learning, okay, so for future slides. Now, if you look at the existing frameworks, for example, right, can you tell me, is there any framework that would be consistent with adaptability and speed of learning? What do you think? Any ideas? No, no. Well, yes, of course, with unfix and whatever, safe, yes, of course. But I just did not think about that. So maybe that was suboptimal, maybe they had to think about that, but they chose less. And that was, from their perspective, consistent with these optimization goals. I would like to stress here exactly on the point, not about less itself, but on the consistency between the chosen organizational solution in this case and the optimization goals. Now, what about business results? They ended up with this. So they managed to get up to speed and finally run on par with their competitors. So they delivered those autonomous driving features similar to the ones of their competitors, kind of similar generation, and even with higher safety and quality standards. And some of you probably, according to the statistics, the lucky drivers of those cars. Now, I would like to return back to these optimization goals. And if you consider them as organizational capabilities, then adoption of less helped them to achieve the outstanding level of these specific organizational capabilities. But the question is, did they manage to unfold the true potential? Now, let me explain this based on the world of superheroes, okay? So I did that already in many presentations, but I like this because this is what they achieved. That was impressive, really impressive. For this scale, for this complexity, etc., etc. So if you look at this world of superheroes, that is the latest generation of the Spider-Man. Especially if you compare it to the state before, right? So that truly they progress towards their organizational capabilities that they targeted. However, that was far below the full potential. Now let me explain this. I will use the goal-centric model, which is nothing else but sort of a next generation, if you want, of the STAR model by Jay Galbraith. So all the credit to Jay Galbraith in this. And probably in other talks today you already saw this, but I will just quickly introduce it again. So the organizational design can be represented as structures of distribution of power, so roles, responsibilities, org charts, everything. Next, of course, processes, rewards, which is explicit or implicit, official or non-official. Even great job from the manager can be considered as a reward for some who respect this. And yes? Yes, of course, yeah. So you can reward into plus and minus side. Okay, and thank you for nodding. And people, meaning that those capabilities of individuals that you, first of all, acquire from the market when you hire the people, that you lose when when people leave, and also that you develop through all the different types of organizational processes and structures and all this stuff. The vital here is, of course, the strategy, because the strategy should be the determining aspect in the whole this model. The business strategy, all this vision, and probably values on the corporate level, etc., etc. But the strategy is the key point. And the whole idea of this model was to show that you need to achieve consistency between all of these elements in order to unfold that potential of your business. So in order to do that, that is quite hard. So I tried with my clients, and I always felt that we're missing something. And we were missing this. The optimization goals. The key organizational capabilities critical for the successful strategy execution. So whenever you have those aligned with your strategy, then it allows you to align other elements with your organizational capabilities and achieve the consistent organizational design that maximizes the business performance. I will go in a little bit further in the explanation of this. Now, let's look at this example of that company that I started with. So they had this adaptability and speed of learning as defined organizational capabilities, targeted or optimization goals for their organizational system. And they chose less as the Agile framework. So first of all, of course, that touched mostly structures and processes, and predominantly in the space of product development. They achieved consistency between these elements, business strategy, optimization goals, and the selected framework. However, if you look at the other side or other elements of the whole this model, then you would find out that their salaries and careers, for example, of people, they were still connected and quite, if not fully connected to the individual achievements, visibility to management, political games, narrow specialization. And this is just one example. That led to having individual interests of people actually competing and conflicting with shared goals and responsibilities. Hard to eradicate team dysfunctions, both within and between teams. And of course, that led to some outcomes, meaning that their progress towards their own optimization goals slowed down and stuck at some level. Now, what it means in terms of the organizational design. So this means that their organizational design was just inconsistent. Some of elements consistent with their strategy and other elements inconsistent with other elements. Unfortunately, this is not a unique case. In your organizations around the world, probably all organizations can be classified as inconsistent in terms of their organizational design. So you can check it yourself. For example, you might find out that you have conflicting goals of different departments, annual budgeting, but important that I'm speaking specifically about these optimization goals, right? So in the context of these optimization goals, these might be conflicting with those and your strategy. If you have different optimization goals, probably you need to check against other optimization goals, right? Okay, annual budgeting, separated product authority and development responsibility, impactful dependencies between teams and other departments, conflicting priorities of product and line management, etc., etc. So I gave just some of those. ultimately you can find out that your framework is even inconsistent with those optimization goals. And yeah, you slow down and probably losing quite a lot in terms of your business outcomes because of that. Okay, so this is my personal perspective, and what my practice shows. You can agree or disagree with that, but I believe that inconsistent organizational design severely constraining business performance can be found in the vast majority of companies. I cannot say that all, because I did not work with all companies, but those that I worked with, or at least I heard about, that is the truth. Even the successful ones, you know, everyone can name some successful companies, right? But they often have dysfunctional organizations holding them back from even greater success. And why they are winning? This did not prevent them from winning the competition so far. Why? Because they compete with the same dysfunctional organizations. What it means? While so many organizations remain dysfunctional, consistent organizational design creates a unique competitive advantage. So you probably already know some companies that actually just copy-paste business model of other companies. And, well, I'm not saying that they are winning immediately, but they have all the chances to become even more successful. I'm not speaking about absolutely new business models and organizations, but this is the missing piece in the whole consideration of many top managers, unfortunately, so far. But how to ensure this consistent organizational design, right? More practical. I will give you example. So this is another company that was a subscription-based e-learning platform, right? And they had line managers, and those line managers, the line managers' effectiveness from the upper management perspective was quite hugely dependent on feature velocity. Who doesn't know what is feature velocity? It's like how quickly you deliver features, okay? And yeah, of course, line manager satisfaction was quite a lot dependent on that perception of their effectiveness by the top management. So the question is, if we add more pressure on developers to increase feature velocity, is it a good idea for the manager? I'm not speaking about the overall, okay? For this manager specifically, in this company, in this specific situation, would it be a good idea? Any opinions? Let's explore. Yeah. So what happened? They put more pressure. The team's temptation to cut time on some activities increased, of course. And what they did, they cut it on the effort to devote it for UX UI design. Yeah. So they said, okay, let's do it less. Of course, the overall effort dropped and the feature velocity increased. So ultimately, that was a good solution, you know? I'm not advocating to do that. I'm just saying that in this situation, that was a good solution. Now, what happened in parallel? First of all, of course, feature velocity somehow influenced the increase of the speed of delivering customer value. But with the reduced effort allocated to the user experience, the customer value delivered with each output dropped. And ultimately, the overall result was that the speed of delivering customer value dropped too, despite the increase of feature velocity, because this influence was much stronger. It led to the reducing customer satisfaction, and business outcomes also reduced, well, with some delay, okay? Now, so far, this is yet a good solution. Why? Because so far the line manager does not care about that much. Well, if you speak to the line managers, I'm not saying that they probably understand, but they still have this influence much stronger than anything else. And only when, with time, top management learned the lesson. Of course, that was not that easy. Some diagramming and consulting was required, but with time, they decided to connect actually the business outcomes to the line managers, to the perception of line managers' effectiveness. And in this case, suddenly what happened? Oh my God, that became a bad solution. So what I'm trying to say is that, speaking of systems, the same change in the system can be considered good or bad simultaneously, depending just on the perspective that you can call the optimization goal. Let me explain this right now. So there are no good or bad solutions, only consistent or inconsistent with your optimization goals. What happened in this case? This was the initial setup, okay? I just cutting this to make it easier understandable. So they had this. The implicit optimization goal was set on the feature velocity through this organizational design, right? And they had also some secondary concern on the speed of, guys, are you monitoring? No. So they had also the implicit secondary concern on the speed of delivering customer value. It means that it matters, but this matters much more. And for that, this solution to put more pressure on developers was consistent with that implicit optimization goal. Nobody called this optimization goal. I'm just saying that always anything that you optimize for, it's just your optimization goal. And what changed? Only this. Through the change of some elements of your organizational design, specifically the motivation of line managers, the perspective changed. The actual implicit optimization goal changed to the speed of delivering customer value. And absolutely the same solution, organizational solution, put pressure to incentivize, if you want, the developers for high feature velocity. It became inconsistent. Now, this can go even further. Without optimization goals that are formally defined and promoted by authorized management, you have these. For example, in this case, line managers optimized for feature velocity. That was their unspoken, but still optimization goals. And they had change agents, well, Agile coaches and some other even managers who tried to change something with their unspoken optimization goal for customer value maximization. Now, they always say, more pressure. These guys say less pressure. These guys say organizing teams around components and functions. No, cross-functional and cross-component teams. More roles for stronger individual responsibilities. Less role for stronger shared accountability. They had no chance to come to a single solution because of having those completely different unspoken optimization goals. Without those optimization goals formally defined and promoted, everyone has their own implicit optimization goals, which are often in opposition. This leads to endless debates, conflicts, frustration, and ultimately wins not the value, but who is with the more power in this case. Now, my suggestion, this is just one of the first suggestions, is that we must ensure that those optimization goals are really formally defined, and not just defined, and I'm speaking about that case that I started with. They must be promoted, supported, and top management must always stand behind that continuously. And they must be promoted as shared direction for all organizational decisions. When you have the optimization goals defined based on those critical capabilities, organizational capabilities critical for your business strategy, then, for example, in this case, those optimization goals were set up. Only then you can really ensure that through applying system thinking, you can align all organizational elements with your optimization goals. Now, for example, in the case of that company, they decided on the LESS framework, but that was, unfortunately, only one part, little part, of the whole organizational system. So the key missing point is this. Whatever is the framework, or maybe you invent something yourself, you need to ensure that all organizational elements at all levels, I mean the structures and processes quite often are optimized still locally, because those are optimized on the level of teams or just product organization. So you need to look at this holistically. Only then you can achieve the consistent organizational design. When you achieve the consistent organizational design through intentional organizational design, then you can achieve the necessary cultural change. Now, whenever whoever asks you how to achieve the cultural change, through consistent organizational design, that you really understand what you want to achieve here. And only then you can really, you have chances of unfolding the true potential of your business performance, whatever it is. You can download the model if you want using the link, or I will give the link in the end of this presentation. Sometimes I'm hearing this, I'm just a Agile coach, not or Scrum Master, not a manager. Well, if we are speaking of less is quite explicit about that, but if this is not about less, then this is just another perspective, Agile coach competency framework. And again, even here you can find this, transformation mastery. So what I'm trying to say is that we have often the roles expected to be a change agent. And in this case, anyways, you don't have any other options, but involve managers in system thinking. And this is to create problem awareness, first of all, then facilitate the discovery of systemic solutions, and support organizational changes. Nice. Oh, Denis, thank you very much. We didn't know everything yet. Waste of time, let me go. So now, that was just what is expected. But what actually happens? Quite often, managers are reluctant to get involved. They don't share the problem or its importance. They lack the holistic understanding of the organizational system. I'm not speaking about system thinking, just organizational system itself. And also tend to deviate in details from the defined high-level direction when it is set. For example, if you say, okay, let's go there, but in detail, they deviate. Now, could you please raise a hand if sometimes any of these you experience? Wow. Yeah, that is impressive. Thank you very much. Now, what happens? Of course, these guys are trying to improve. Those guys, again, they are quite knowledgeable and experienced, but sometimes not in these aspects. And there is a big gap between what both sides are trying to achieve. This is where the key challenges lie. Now let's explore this further. I personally, from my practice, what I discovered, that these are some of the key factors leading to those challenges. First, the lack of expertise in the practical application of organizational design and systems thinking combined. So sometimes people know system thinking, but they have no clue about the organizational systems, and vice versa. Next, what also happens is that the optimization goals are either missing or they are not really in the practical use. So sometimes they are defined, right? But then they are abandoned. Moreover, this is quite interesting for me personally, because I discovered that even when companies have that and they kind of support that, they don't use it intensively whenever any organizational discussion happens. And finally, the lack of tools and techniques for efficient collaborative system thinking in the context of organizational systems. Of course, we all know about the CLD, but there are some difficulties with that. So let's look at this more precisely. So what I believe, again, from my practice and working with other change agents, if you want, the complexity of system diagrams and the challenges of collaborative work on them. They exist. So for example, I would like to ask you to look at this, because I will again ask you if you have these problems, because I want to understand what to focus on. So, easy to get lost in complex system diagrams, especially for those who does not do it frequently. I'm not speaking about you yourself, but maybe those with whom you need to do this, okay? Hard to recall the meaning behind the complex system diagram after some pause. Well, I'm not speaking about your fellows. Oh, let's do it, yeah, let's spend 5 hours. Oh, we are lucky that we have this time. Not our managers. What happens with managers? I have a time box, okay? 1 hour. 1 hour for system thinking. I don't have that much time, yeah? So you're ending up in the middle, and then what do? You have two options. Reiterate, probably, maybe this is the best, but again, you have another 1 hour, or proceed with where you started. So you have not that much choice here. Easy to overlook some critical perspectives of the organizational system. Quite often, we look from one perspective, we proceed looking into that, and we have a risk of local optimization because we don't think about other aspects of your organization. Merging the results, when you work with more than 4 or 5 people, you need to facilitate it specifically. So probably you diverge, merge, and the merge is quite painful. Now, raise hands please, again, if you have any, okay, you experienced something of this. On the other hand, I will go through this very quickly. Convincing managers is a problem. Why? Change agents' concerns are not so critical from managers' perspective. Managers often lack experience with and feel uncomfortable. They will not tell you that they feel uncomfortable. They will just reject your invite, probably. Because of not being accustomed to CLD or something like that. Managers look at system modeling as some fancy tool, not something they can say that, oh, this is document, and bring this to their managers and discuss with them. So also they are lacking understanding of organizational systems and organizational design. Finally this, multiple unspoken disagreements overcomplicate the discussion to the point where it gets stuck. So you're building the diagram, you feel that, oh my God, he's buying my idea, but he does not. He does not just understand in the middle of it or disagrees, and he does not, or she does not tell about that. So once more, the same. Do you feel that sometimes you have some kind of these problems? Yeah, thank you. I feel that you are tired, me too, but bear with me. So now solution, okay? So we have these old problems, and we've came up with the solution. We call this org facilitation. This is a sort of completely new. I'm developing this with my companion, and the solutions are these. So first of all, we include some knowledge, and we educate about the system thinking combined with organizational design, not taking them separately, but combined. Also, we are developing this idea about the goal-centric organizational design, so that optimization goals would become your daily tool, if you want, in all your discussions. And also, ORCA Canvas. This is what we call it, but this is a practical tool for systems thinking in the context of organizational design, not just system thinking. Now, very quickly, this is a system of knowledge, collaborative tools, and techniques for designing organizations. I will give you this QR code in the end. Now, let's look at this, and I will try to explain the idea behind this. So first of all, generic organizational system model, what it is. First, who knows the iceberg model? You will see quite a lot of familiarities here, okay? So it's, of course, based on that. So work outcomes is something that probably every manager tries to achieve, not necessarily middle or line manager, but that is the purpose of the whole organization in most cases, I hope. Next, work outputs sort of impact your outcomes, but also there are external factors out of your reach, like your competitors, for example, or regulators or something like that. So these aspects, work outcomes and even sometimes outputs, are not those that you can guarantee for yourself because of the external factors. This is why I call them influenceable. Next, this is the principle of system thinking. The performance of a system depends on how the parts interact, never on how they act taken separately. There is another saying which is actually very similar to this, and it is about culture and strategy for breakfast, right? By the way, I was told that that was not Peter Drucker, and I was told by people who I feel that they know Peter Drucker's saying, so yeah. Anyways, this is the connection between those elements that I place here and call them Gemba patterns. There is a subtle specific about that. So this is about behavioral and process patterns observed at Gemba, or in other words, where the actual value is created. Nowadays, this is not necessarily a physical place. This is just all the activities involved into the creation of value. So, for example, if your CEO is involved into the product development anyhow, they sometimes are at Gemba, okay? But if you develop software, for example, developers who create the product, they are at Gemba. Sometimes people are both at Gemba and outside when they, for example, are involved in something different. So here is the behaviors of people those manifestations of the actual culture. And it impacts your outputs and outcomes. Culture is strategy for breakfast. So for example, I gave in the beginning those examples. Those pertain to this layer. Those examples that I spoke about, the harsh reality, if you remember. But you remember the consequences, right? They are here. So those are related to outcomes and outputs. This layer is, again, no control. You don't have control over your culture. So that is something cultivable. Another quote, people's behavior, the culture, is a product of the system. When you change the system, people's behaviors change. Yeah, John Seddon. Well, if you know this person, of course, then you heard about culture follows structure, right? Well, I put it a little bit differently. Structure is culture for lunch, because I just use it together with structure, it's culture is strategy for breakfast. Now, I want to point out that when we speak about structure here, we need to understand that at some level of your organization, probably their culture is strategy, when those people manage the structure. But in this saying, I refer to this structure standing for the entire organizational design, and culture for those who do not manage structure. Are you following me so far? All right, okay. Cool. Now, we came to this Gemba organizational design. I call it exactly Gemba organizational design because the organizational design itself actually involves not only Gemba organizational design, but also the organizational design of those who manage this organizational design. Quite often, if you are not in a startup, you see a lot of managers. What are they doing? Apart from just bothering developers, of course, what they are doing, they are managing the organizational design, the organizational management. I must say that this layer itself can be considered as a huge subsystem. In many corporations, they have several layers or even more of managers who are doing exactly managing other managers and other managers and other managers. So this system is applicable to any subsystem within the system itself. But the essence of it is that your organizational management actually controls this. Organizational design, not your Gemba patterns, behavioral and process patterns happening in Gemba, and not work outcomes and work outputs. And of course, there's some system feedback. So people at Gemba, they probably learn, maybe not, this is their choice, what happens in terms of outputs and outcomes, and the same happens with the organizational management. At least they probably know about their business outcomes, but quite many already now think about the culture of the organization. Now, this is what I call the summary model for organizational system thinking, because all of these connections, they always exist in any, at least modern organization. You can always try to map your organizational elements to this model. But let's go further. Let's recall that we have the model of organizational design itself, and let's put it here. So first of all, those structures, rewards, processes, and people, they belong to this Gemba organizational design in this case. And strategy, not itself the strategy, but the progress towards your strategy is can be observed at the very top, the outcomes. What about optimization goals? What do you think? Where should I place it? Any ideas? Yeah, that is hard. But essentially, you need to actually feel the missing point. The culture is here, by the way. So the optimization goals are set up, of course, here, right? And through them, you ensure that your organizational design is aligned with strategy. But ultimately, we can measure progress towards your optimization goals and actually the effectiveness of the whole organization exactly at this level. I will show you quite soon how you can do this. So this is the tool that we came up with, and this whole model is implemented in it. And instead of just going directly, I will put it as a story for you, okay? So that was a real story, of course, with some simplification. There was a change agent, and he came up with the idea, hey, look, dear department head, we need to change something because we have a very harsh reality of ours, right? Let's go and do some system diagramming. What did he get? Thanks, this is important, but we have other more important problems to address. Nobody knows why, probably because, well, this looks quite scary, right? Well, in other approach, I'm not saying that this is the only reason, but now look, what was the saying here? Invitation, executive organizational root cause analysis, blah, 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 with industry standard tool and something like this. So it looks like much more cleaner. Even in this case, well, let's discuss what is this. Okay, next. They came to this meeting, and what the change agent starts with, different teams have different priorities for the same features. Sounds scary, right? For who? For the change agent, maybe. Not for the senior management. Well, that is probably important, but not that much. I'm not sure that I want to discuss this. What about this? Decreasing number of paying customers. Yeah, please proceed. What happens? And so what happens here? First of all, normally I suggest put always what this organization that you're speaking about, and we have some metadata there, and also we are speaking about analyzing the root causes of current problems. Just a side note, there are no root causes in the system thinking. This is just for the sake of simplification. So whenever your group that you work with are not familiar with CLD, I suggest use the energy and the time that you already acquired and proceed with simplified approaches. And when you earn the interest of your audience, then educate them CLD. Let's imagine that in our case, they know about CLD, and I will put it as a variable. Number of paying customers is at stake. What is the first impacting variable? Attractiveness of our product for customers. With some delay, it has impact on that. They also, the change agent asks the manager, but what impacts that? Speed of feature delivery. And next question is, are you sure that we are speaking about feature delivery? Because I think that there's something outside of our company that impacts that. What is that? Speed of creating customer value by our competitors. And now, look, dear manager, so it looks like we are trying to overcompensate the speed of creating customer value by our competitors with speed of feature velocity or speed of feature delivery, right? So, speed of feature delivery is nothing about value. And while, yes, I get the point, let's change it. So we have the speed of delivering customer value. Next, at this level, they tried to find out what happens at the level of outcomes and outputs, and they thought that maybe nothing else, right? And then the question is, what do we have in terms of our behaviors and process patterns? And they discovered that the amount of time that features wait for the next team to do their part had the opposite impact on the speed of delivering customer value. Also, there was a proposal from the side of the change agent that I think that the more teams have own product owners managing team priorities, the more amount of time the features wait for the next team to do their part. And in this case, the manager said, no, I disagree. So the change agent said, okay, that is totally fine at this moment. Let's explore further. They also discovered that there was a focus on incentivizing individual team performance, and that led to high likelihood of achieving team-level output-based KPIs. Sounds great, right? But unfortunately, in parallel, the change agent believed that focus on the incentivizing individual team performance also led to the high amount of time features waited. Now that also was disagreed. What can you do with that? Well, my suggestion is this. As soon as you feel that there's a critical mass that you achieved in terms of those disagreements, you probably go to clarifying those disagreements. In many cases, people disagree not because of actual disagreement, but because of misunderstanding what you mean with that. So for example, in this case, what the change agent meant was this, that the focus on incentivizing individual team performance led to the reducing readiness of teams to adjust priorities to help each other. And that was between these two variables, and that was understood and accepted, agreed by the manager. On the other hand, here he had another idea. I will not go into the details because the whole idea here is to explain the approach. But that idea was not accepted by the manager. She said, no, well, I disagree. On the other hand, there was this branch of the thinking that number of teams with own product backlogs leads to the number of teams with own priorities and going up. And that was agreed. So in this case, what happened? This change agent already achieved the connection of underlying causes, not necessarily root causes, but causes, with something on the top. And one of the branches already was kind of agreed. So at this moment, you can make a wise decision. Should you really spend your time and energy on these disagreements, or maybe on something more important? So you can make wise decisions at this moment. So time's over, not of this session, hopefully, we still have some minutes, but time was over for them in this session. So they had to reschedule, and during these 3 days waiting, the department manager involved COO, and the COO also received similar invite. And of course, top managers always want to know what's the agenda, what's already there. So they received this nice picture of something already happening. Well, that's dangerous because sometimes they think that they already know what happens. But that you need to explore what is your manager. Who is your manager? What do they think about this? Now, when they joined the second session, they had those who already knew the structure of this system model. It was quite simple for them to recall what was the discussion. And also for the new participants, after the introduction to the layers of these, the CEO learned quite easily, or much easier than previously when the just CLD was introduced, what happens with this system model. And also metadata helped also them. Now they proceeded, and they discovered that the main driver actually was that the manager was dissatisfied with outcomes. Because of this, paying customers, number of paying customers dropped, and they increased focus on these solutions. That was weird. Why this happens? Because of that. Because the teams still improved their team-based or output-based KPIs. And that had no delay. So essentially, managers had a perception that probably we need to strengthen the current approach in order to improve even further the output-based KPIs. They just could not see that connection. And that created this driver happening in the very bottom of this system. On the other hand, the change agent also discovered that there was a belief that the performance of the system is a sum of individual performances of its parts considered separately. Managers just believed that, and that was why we are doing this way. And that was actually the opposite to the principle of the system thinking. So what he could do with that? First of all, well, this is another approach how you can improve the readability. So first of all, you can show where you have the balancing loops, the reinforcing loops, and learn that the balancing loop happens without delay, but with delay, you have the reinforcement. This is what's happening in this case. So first of all, the decision was, this change agent decided to address the underlying belief. Now imagine, should they try to focus here, even if they attract attention of the manager, not understanding the underlying belief makes all the attempts here useless. Only addressing this underlying belief can help, and also expose the ineffectiveness of the current organizational design. So kind of this system diagram, if they understand this delayed cause-effect relation, then they see that their measurement has nothing to say about the actual business outcomes. So the whole idea of the approach and the tool is to drive the user, if you want, through the entire system, so that you always start with something meaningful for the business, and you always end up with beliefs that stand behind those organizational decisions. Also look at all different aspects of organizational design. So here you see different colors. Specifically, we use it. Unfortunately, colorblinded cannot use it that much, but we will find solution. So these colors, they represent different types of organizational elements from the STAR model. Now, also, the structure of this canvas helps you to create the causal loops always running in one direction. So it improves the structure and readability of your systems. Now, we also provide the guided version, so it's just a simple step-by-step guide. And we also have a little bit more complicated, because in many organizations their management is huge and complex, and this is why it's important to explore what happens on the side of organizational management. So I'm not going to give you all this explanation, but I would like to focus you on the fact that your optimization goals can be considered, actually the progress towards optimization goals, as I said, at the Gemba patterns. And this is the real-life example. I will zoom in. So they had these optimization goals set up, and all of these optimization goals, they had the assumption, of course, that is assumption, that some variables on the level of behavioral and process patterns, they have a direct impact on the progress towards those optimization goals. So they marked them respectively, and they discovered that almost all factors or variables coming from the level of organizational system, organizational design, they draw to the downgrade in terms of those variables. So they worked against the optimization goals. These optimization goals had the direct impact on outputs and outcomes. They also connected it to the external factors. The business goal was involved, of course, so they could easily connect it to the strategic goals of the company. Again, the layer of organizational solutions and underlying layer of organizational management patterns. So you can find all of these beliefs and misconceptions here. Now, this is another type. Using the same model, they managed to come up with the change on the side of mindsets. I don't believe that mindset is that simple to change. People need to learn something from their experience, but they decided that they will use the principle of system thinking just to try it out on some experiment, and that drove them to change completely the organizational design, and ultimately you see that they ensured that all these variables directly impacting the progress towards optimization goals, they became green because they had a positive effect. All of these, I must say, just don't be mistaken, this is the representation of mental models of them, and it's based on their assumptions. So as soon as they learned that some of these assumptions are wrong, of course they can change this model, and they should revisit the model continuously. But that ensured the transparency and the shared understanding between managers and other people involved. So ORCA contains right now a lot of examples like that. You can use it, you can download it or copy-paste from Miro. And also we have some materials that we produce in terms of the primer, that we give some basics about the system modeling. And I must say that this is not about Agile. This is about any organization, okay? Agile organizations might have just different optimization goals. Other organizations might need something else. So I just invite you to learn, if you want, using this QR code, and explore the opportunity to improve as change agents in your practice. Thank you very much. Yeah, sure. I don't know. We have, if you can, yeah.
You've been in my course.
Absolutely.
And, I've got a lot of variable classifier for you. Have you ever tried doing
I believe not intentionally, but I always end up with those variables in practice. So I definitely classify them according to this, yes. Absolutely. Well, if you're lazy, I can do this, absolutely. And I'm not sure that I have the pictures, I recall this, but if I not, maybe you can share your model and I will try to do it. Yeah, that would be cool, absolutely. Thank you. Any other questions?
And so many of the issues that Denis is raising, you know, I see in my day-to-day coaching experience when I'm in a room with the senior managers. And for example, some years ago, I started to add variables related to revenue and opportunity cost because I was working with people that really wanted to connect the dots to that point, in other words, to outcomes and so forth. And so I've started to internally make a connection to what Denis is saying by helping the managers see these different dimensions of the organization. And I believe I can use this to help them clear the fog faster.
I will just add one point. So again, this is not theory, this is based on the practice. We ended up with this just because that was a logical evolution of the practice that we have with managers. And one of the benefits from my perspective of this is that you don't need to drive them and push them towards considering the organizational design. You are saying that, hey guys, let's explore this using this standard tool. Well, maybe not all managers are this kind of, but quite many, they are saying that, should I spend this time on this? And if you are saying that, yeah, look, this is really a standard and I will not coach you anything, we just use it and we see what it leads you to. And it really leads you to exploring the whole system. You saw it, right? So you start with the business and this is where you must connect your concerns, because otherwise you don't buy the interest of the manager, and you go down, and moreover, you reiterate, and you use the energy of this discussion. You look how the people are involved, engaged, and etc. So my perspective on this is that the usefulness of this is exactly in giving you the opportunity to just facilitate lightly while people use the guidance already embedded into the tool. Of course, you need to help them with understanding of that, right? And here you get a luxury of switching the hats. Sometimes I'm facilitating, sometimes I'm challenging. To me personally, this is one of the critical, because when I do the just CLD, for example, I need to think from this perspective of organizational design, from this perspective of outcomes, outputs, where is the rewards, for example. Didn't I forget any perspective? Now here you have the luxury of having this structure already created for you, so you mostly focus on the exact subject and your, not opponents, but the group that you work with. And by the way, yes, I must say that sometimes it's a burden because of these pauses between meetings. This is the reality. Managers don't have that much time, or they have, but they are not ready yet to spend that much time, right? And of course, big discussions. This is also something that you can use. Some of the questions sometimes I have that, can we use this model for subsystems? Guys, of course, just don't forget that using this for subsystems is a risk of locally optimizing. This is it, so this is your call. Practical advice, you can use this for the subsystem, but always have something for the system as a whole. Yeah.
Another small variation on the layout is to use colors instead of physical space. So I believe that the separation into physical space is easier for people to see and grasp, but if you're having trouble, I say, doing this on a whiteboard, I might also play with this with just 4 or 5 different colors for the different categories.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.